welcome back to BLOCKTV, where it is time for Crypto Crunch as we go around the world, this time to Helsinki, as in every week, to speak to Rachel McIntosh, editor of Finance Magnates, her top picks of the week, what the sphere should be looking at, what the sphere needs to know. Rachel, how are you?
I'm doing fine, Yael. How about yourself?
I'm doing well, except for major scams. But before we get to the scams, let's start with your first pick. Trouble brewing, and that is actually a story that is fascinating given the promise behind the Lightning Network. Vulnerability reported on the Lightning Network. Tell us more about it and who's the one warning people.
Right, exactly. So Rusty Russell is an Australian developer and open source advocate who has worked on the Lightning Network, who was the one who sent out the tweet that was like, hey, node operators, update as soon as possible. There's a vulnerability. Of course, the details of the vulnerability have not yet been disclosed. This is a common tactic in cybersecurity. When something is discovered, you want to let the relevant people know, let the people who need to update or make changes know. But of course, releasing details about the vulnerability before it's fixed can lead to exploitation of that vulnerability. So we don't know so much about it at this point.
What do we think it is? I mean, as in everything in the sphere, I'm assuming there's rumor and supposition about this as well, right?
Right. Yeah, definitely. So there are some indications that it could be connected to the Eclair wallet, which is a Lightning Network wallet, because there was also, urgency to update this Eclair wallet as well. And there has been some suggestions that it has something to do with users losing their funds or, having the possibility of losing their funds, even though there haven't been reports of that happening yet.
And how did he warn people, essentially, Russell?
Yeah, so there was one message that came out in like a Lightning Network email list, newsletter type thing, and then a tweet that just simply said, update as soon as possible.
I know that's a creepy thing to do to a bunch of people, I have to say. But yes, as you said, Russell published a tweet on August 30th, essentially with that stark, very short warning message. What does this spell for Lightning, do you think?
Well, there's some interesting things happening with the Lightning Network. So since the beginning of the year, we've seen a decrease in the number of BTC that are locked into the Lightning Network. We started at 1,100 in January. Now we're down to 850 BTC. And on top of that, 23% of the payment channels associated with the Lightning Network have been shut down since the beginning of the year. So, of course, when you look at the decline in the amount of BTC alone on the network, you could say, oh, the price of Bitcoin has gone up considerably since the beginning of the year, which it has. Therefore, maybe people just, are taking some of this Bitcoin out and, selling it for a profit. And that's not actually really affecting the volume of usage on the Lightning Network.
On the Lightning Network. Go ahead.
Yes, exactly. But when you take that in tandem with this closing of payment channels, it's starting to look a little bit like, perhaps people aren't being incentivized in the right way to use the Bitcoin Lightning Network, or perhaps it's just not ready.
Perhaps it's not ready because it came out splashing. That's what I mean. My thing, is the promise that was behind Lightning, and that's going to solve so many things, especially scalability, et cetera, et cetera. But it's proving harder than the promise, isn't it?
Yeah, exactly. So it seems like one of the main factors is that the fees for micropayments are just too high at this point. So, if you're using it to pay for, for example, something like data sharing information or something like that, something that's just like a few cents, then you're essentially paying, as much or more to send that transaction than the actual transaction itself.
Exactly. Putting scalability aside, just not worth it. I'm going to move us along to one of the biggest stories of the year, and that's, of course, the PlusToken Scam out of Finance Magnates. Again, Rachel, this is your analysis. A growing amount of crypto allegedly being dumped on exchanges could be connected with PlusToken. Remind us of the story behind PlusToken, and how can anything be much larger than 2.9 billion?
I know the scale of this is just absolutely insane, even if it is just 2.9 billion. I say just $2.9 billion. So, just kind of in the same vein as BitConnect and all of these cryptocurrency Ponzi schemes that we've seen over the last couple of years, PlusToken promised users, high returns on using their platform, just spend, invest, and we guarantee that you'll get between 10 and 30% back on every single month. So unfortunately, it seems that between 2.4 and 3 million users were pulled into this scam. It was mostly affecting people in China and in the East. It didn't really, hit Western media until, considerably after the fact that, several arrests were made in connection with this scam. And the magnitude of it had already been discovered. So what we know at this point is that approximately $2 billion in Ethereum has been sent out of the platform, mostly through Huobi. It's not clear if this is the platform sending it, to its own wallets, or to actual investors, people pulling their money out of the platform. It's not really clear whether or not they have that ability. But we also know that at least half of the Ethereum was paid out to less than 1% of the users on the platform. So what that could mean is that yeah, exactly. There's a small pool of users who just invested a lot of Ethereum on this platform, or, probably what may be more likely is that more than half of this Ethereum is going out into wallets that are owned by PlusToken or people associated with PlusToken.
Which is, again, as you said, we're theorizing, but as a planned thing to the people behind the PlusToken Ponzi scheme. That's what it sounds like. That minuscule, that small percentage. Once again, as we're, it's a question I ask you many times, just jumping off of this story, PlusToken. What does this do as this sphere is being mainstreamed in a way because of Libra and so many reports and crossing into mainstream media? But what does this do to the sphere, something like that, in your mind?
Well, right, yeah. I mean, what I'd like to see happen as a result of this is that, we have that users who are affected by hacks, by scams, by all these things. And this isn't necessarily relegated only to the cryptocurrency sphere. When somebody becomes a victim of a boiler room scam, a binary option scam, a cryptocurrency scam, it's like, what do? Do you call the police? Like, there is no, designated in most parts of the world.
I'm going to say a dirty word. There's no regulation.
Yeah, there's very limited regulation. Exactly. And, this PlusToken had been kind of identified within the space as a scam over a year ago.
And yet nobody did anything.
Nobody really did anything. Perhaps maybe the proof wasn't really there, but at the same time, it's, I want anyone who's watching this, just after this is over, go and Google, I've been a victim of a scam, help, or my cryptocurrency is gone, my, somebody scammed me, and see what comes up, see what kinds of help you can find, because there really is not very much. Chances are, if you could call your police officer, your local law enforcement, they might be able to direct you to, the FBI if you're in the United States, or, the equivalent organization in another country. But the channels for help in these kinds of situations are just really not very well established.
Almost not.
Almost non-existent.
Almost non-existent, which, it's kind of a double-edged sword, because for them to exist, regulation would have to come into play. And it's this, catch-21. But very, very true. Anybody watching, listen to Rachel. If you have been scammed, do your own research on what to do in events as such, in a sphere that is, in a space that is very chaotic, some may argue. Moving along, though, now, and it's kind of connected, the Thai crypto exchange Bitcoin Co. to shut down, and traders are in panic. I'm quoting you from, I'm quoting Finance Magnates. Bitcoin Co., one of the popular crypto exchanges in Thailand, announced this week, this is the beginning of this week, it's terminating its digital asset trading services and did not provide any particular reason behind it. What do we know?
Right, exactly. So that's what's really interesting about this. A couple of different things. So the exchange closed down and basically said that they're doing it to, quote, focus on other business opportunities, without really saying what those other business opportunities were. And what happened as a result of this is that all of the traders on this exchange started dumping their coins, and so much Bitcoin was dumped onto this exchange that the price of Bitcoin, which is currently around, over $10,000.
Right, dancing around the 10 and 11, right?
Yeah, when I checked this morning, it pushed the price of Bitcoin all the way down to $6,500. So if you have an opportunity for arbitrage on this exchange,
I was about to say.
This is the time to take advantage of that opportunity. But yeah, it's not clear exactly why this happened. we've seen examples in South Korea and in other parts of Asia in particular where low trading volume has caused exchanges to close their doors. So it is possible, of course, that could be a contributing factor to this particular, closure. But at the same time, the Thai market is a rather interesting little ecosystem because Thai regulators, towards the beginning of the cryptocurrency boom, let's say, like it seemed like they weren't, Thailand was quickly kind of closing its fist on crypto. But in the last year, there have been a number of cryptocurrency exchanges and businesses that have been granted licenses. We've got a few new ICO portals as of earlier this year. Huobi is planning on opening a cryptocurrency exchange. The Thai stock market, I believe, is opening a digital currency assets exchange.
Supposedly.
Within. Sure. Yeah. So because this is little microcosm of regulation, I'm not going to compare it directly to Japan, but I think that with the heavy involvement that the Thai SEC and different Thai regulators have had in the Thai markets, that we could potentially see Thailand grow into a very healthy ecosystem just based on the fact that there are, perhaps supportive and healthy regulations being developed.
Right, and as you said, one of the interesting things might be that there were just not enough people trading, as simple as that, because of the beginning of the, of cryptocurrency's existence in Thailand. But when you mentioned the price, with this sudden, we're shutting down, are hackers going in, people who are looking to, because 6,500 is ridiculous at this day and age.
Yeah, we did sort of point out that just simply the fact that, this exchange does have suddenly this high liquidity of Bitcoin on it, that there's a lot of Bitcoin moving through the exchange very quickly, could make this a target for hackers. But then again, I would say that that's not necessarily, more or less a target than any other, relatively small exchange. The attention that this has, that this price drop and this liquidity has brought onto this exchange could make it more of a target, in the short-term future. But then again, it really won't be around for that much longer. So, we'll just clean up shop and, yeah.
Either for us to figure it out or for people to just jump in the next 24 hours. No recommendations there whatsoever. Rachel McIntosh of Finance Magnates out of Helsinki. Thank you so much. These were the top headlines, the top stories you directed us to this week. Always wonderful to speak to you. Thank you.
Good to speak to you. Thank you, Mara.
For more news and updates, follow us on Twitter.